Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to lecture number 40 for the subject of software design and architecture, iTech 4129. I am your course instructor Fahad Anwar. So students, before I start my today's lecture discussion, I would like to give you a little bit recap about our last week lecture. So students, if you remember what we discussed in our last week lecture, we see aspect oriented paradigms in more advanced terms, and we complete the software reuse landscape with respect to aspect oriented paradigms in software architecture and design. And before covering this aspect oriented programming paradigms, we also cover model driven architecture and software product line. And students, these are the basically three software reuse landscape approaches which we have been discussed so far: model driven architecture, software product line, and in the last 2 weeks we comprehensively covers the aspect oriented architecture and design. And students, now we are moving towards the end of our course, software design and architecture, and now in this week we will cover some advanced topics. So let's formally start our today's lecture number 40 discussion. So what is objective of our today's lecture discussion? So students, in this lecture we are going to discuss user interface design principles. We will discuss different type, what kind of principles are actually required in any user interface design. So now we will are going to discuss some principles for the creation of any user interface. So let's start our lecture number 40 discussion. So students, these are the different principles for user interface design. The number first is about affinity. What is affinity? Actually it is, so this affinity actually bring objects to life through, we can say, good visual design. So if we see into more detail, in this affinity actually understand the principles of visual design. Students, visual design in a user interface, we can say, actually aims to embody all aspects of user interface principles, we can say, and it should also support the user model and communicate its functions without ambiguities. So we can say about this affinity point is, like, it should not be seen as the, like, icing on the cake, but it should be an integral part of the entire design process. And the next one is about assistance in user interface design principle means we should provide proactive assistance. What does it mean about proactive assistance? So assistance actually helps the user to perform a variety of tasks. So knowledge of the system and the ability to handle a task vary from one user to another. So enable the system to recognize the ability of an individual user and offer assistance as appropriate where the user is required. So provide assistance in the forms of captions, different hints, or system help, etc. And this assistance information, we can say, should be simple, concise, and task oriented to allow the user to complete a task with relative easy and efficiency. So it's all about assistance with appropriate user. And the next important user interface design principle is availability. So it's pretty straightforward, like make all objects available at any time, or you can say at maximum time. This availability principle, students, we can say, actually enable the user to use all objects within a view in any sequence and at any time. For example, students, if I say, like, the open dialog in the Windows platforms actually allows the user to access all objects in the view of an open object, which is a dialog box in Windows platform. So we should avoid using models in which we can say actions of an interface are no longer available, or you can see unexpected results are being. So we should avoid these kind of actions. So actually, if I say different modes actually restrict the user ability to interact with the system. For example, if I took another example, like if we say about menu driven system, which use the modal dialog boxes such as print and save as, we can say, for the user to request command parameters. But this modal dialog tends to lock the user out of the system, so the user must complete or cancel the modal dialog to return to the system, creating tremendous inconvenience, etc. So this is actually all about availability, which ensured about the all objects should make available for the user at any time, or you can say 24/7, or obviously there can be some maintenance time as well, but you can say at maximum time. And the next point is about encouragement. What is encouragement principle should be followed while we are designing our user interface. So it's actually about we should make actions predictable and reversible, we can say. So actually in this encouragement we should ensure that an action produces the expected result. So students, we actually need to understand the expectations, tasks and goals of the user. So use terms and images which actually helps the user to understand the objects and their relationships for completing a particular task. So so you should encourage the user to explore the system and try out an action, view the results and undo or delete the action, etc. So if I say in more clear words, the user should feel more comfortable with and confident in an interface if the feature actions don't cause irreversible consequences like that. So all user actions including trivial distraction should be reversible. For example, if I say the user spends several minutes deliberating and selecting individual files to be archived, so it should be it I think frustrates the user if the selection are accidentally deselected and the deselection cannot be undone, so it can be frustrated for the user. So you should avoid bundling actions together, so user may not anticipate the impact of bundle of actions. Like for example, if I give you, for example, we can say like do not group the cancel and delete functions together. So if the user choose to cancel a request for sending a note, so only cancel the sending request, so do not delete the note as well. So make action independent and provide mechanisms such as wizards to allow the user to combine actions for a certain use. This all actually gives encouragement in the usage of interface to their novice users, and this encouragement is an important design principle while you are going to creating a user interface design. And the next point is about familiarity. This is actually, we can say, you should design or build on the user's prior knowledge. So what does it mean? So let me give you some explanation about it. So this familiarity mean actually you should allow the users to build on prior knowledge of the system. So a user friendly system actually, we can say, enables the user to learn new concepts and techniques by accomplishing one task and applying them to a broad spectrum of tasks. So in other words, we can say students, user does not have to learn different techniques to perform similar tasks. So you should employ visual designs and interaction techniques in an interface to represent and reinforce a user experience with other systems for the same platform, or you can say the environment. So I think a new interface, students, is easy to understand, need to be easy to learn and use if the required interaction techniques are consistent with that user already knows, and you should what expects from that user. So you should try to discover and understand the experiences and expectations of the user before you start your design. So it's all about the familiarity, about the user's prior knowledge from whom you are going to build your system. It's all about the familiarity. And the next point is about obviousness. So obviousness actually about you should make objects and control visible and intuitive. So what does it mean? Let me explain it. So students, you can say you should use realistic representations in the interface. You should be more realistic instead of some wishful thinkings. So the objects and concepts in an object oriented interface should resemble those in the real world as well. So wherever possible, you should avoid artificial representations of your object. So it's actually about obviousness, where you should make make objects and control their visible as intuitive, and your representation should be more realistic in the interface. So it's actually about obviousness. And the next one is about personalization. So what is actually about personalization? Actually helps the user to customize an interface. So what does it mean? Customization is, what does it mean? So students, while you are going to build a interface design for your user, you should follow the principle of personalization, which actually, you can say, enables the user to tailor the interface to individual needs and desires. So we can say no two users are exactly alike. Like user vary in terms of their background, interest, motivation, level of experience, and their physical ability as well. So we can say users are ranging from one background to another background. They have different motivations, different users have different physical abilities, etc. So you should provide some kind of customization helps the user should need to feel more comfortable with an interface. So this personalizing an interface can also lead to a higher productivity and user satisfaction as well. So this personalization is also very important, where user comes from different background, different interests, different motivations, different kind of experiences, different cultures, and different physical ability. So you should follow this personalization principle before you are going to design your user interface for your target users. So the next important aspect is safety principles. So what is safety principles in terms of user interface design? So it's actually about, you should keep the user out of trouble. So what does it mean? Let me explain with the help of some examples. So students, you should protect the user from making errors. So like you can say, like burden of keeping the user out of troubles actually rests upon the designer. So an interface, whatever the interface you are going to build, should provide visual clues, different reminders, different list of choices, and other aids, either automatically or on request. So we can say contextual help and agents can deliver supplemental assistance to different kind of users. So help information should be simple, concise, and more task oriented. So you should also, students, do not require the users to memorize information that system already knows, like such as previous settings, like file names and other interface details. So you should provide such information if available through the system. So you should enable two-way communication, like between user and the system. So this active communication actually provides the capability to allow the users to clarify or confirm a request, and you can say, or correct a problem, or it may take some specific decisions as well. So for instance, if we took example of a spelling checker, so if we say about a spelling checker, as designed in some systems, like highlights potentially misspelled words, like while the user works on the document. So this actually allows the user to either correct a spelling error or continue the work. So it's all about safety, which actually keeps its user out of trouble. In terms of user interface design, which you are going to build for your target audience. And the next important principle in the design of user interface is satisfaction. Satisfaction is actually about, you actually create a feeling of progress and achievement. What does it mean? So it is all about actually feedback. So instant feedback, actually, students, allow the users to assess what are or not the results meet his or her expectations or not. If they are not meeting their expectations, so you should take alternative actions immediately. For example, if I say, like when the user choose a new font, The font change to all applicable text should take place instantaneously. So we can say the user can then decide whether or not to retain the change. So it's all about the satisfaction about of user about the newly designed interface of any particular system. And the next important point is simplicity. So what actually about a simplicity? So you should make your interface design most simple, and you should do not compromise usability for functionality. So what does it mean, this point? So let me explain. So students, the most important point is you should keep the interface simple and straightforward. So the user actually benefits from intuitive and usable functions. So you should make sure that basic functions are apparent to user and advanced functions are easy to learn. So in this way actually we are minimizing the number of objects and actions in an interface, but we also enabling the user to accomplishing their everyday tasks, like include a function only, like if a task analysis shows that they are actually needed for it. So in short, you should keep your interface simple and straightforward, and your basic function should be apparent to user and advanced function should be easy to learn. So it's all about simplicity. And the next important point is about support principle for your interface design. So it's all about place the user in control. What does it mean? So in this support principle, students, we actually give the user control over the system. We actually give the user control over the system. So we actually enable the user to apply self-defined procedures to accomplish certain tasks. So we actually students, we are do not impose your own notion of the correct way of doing things, and limit the choices that should be available on the user. So in short, this support term actually gives the user control over the system. It's about support. And the last important principle is versatile, which we also known as versatility. This versatility mean support alternate interaction techniques. This versatile principle of user interface design is most crucial and most important as compared to all other important principles. So what does it mean about versatile? So this versatile mean your interface design should support alternate interaction techniques as well. And in this versatility principle, we actually enable the user to choose an interaction method which are appropriate for a specific situation. So each interaction device is actually optimized for certain use or users, and no single interaction method is best for every situations. For example, if I give you an example about this, for example, I say a microphone with voice recognition software can be helpful for a fast text entry or in a hands-free environment, like, and pen input is helpful for people who are actually expert in sketches. So these are the different versatility. The first one was about the microphone with voice recognition software, which can be helpful for fast text entry in a hand-free environment. And the other one is about pen input, which is actually helpful for people who actually sketch. So it's actually all about versatility, which actually supports alternative interaction techniques according to their target audience. As I give you example about microphone, where we actually utilizes the hands-free environment for voice recognition software can be helpful for a very fast text entry. And the other we see about pen input is helpful for people who are actually interested in the sketch. So it's all about the versatility who actually support different alternative solutions for different type of interaction techniques. So students, all of these are different important principles which you must consider, or which you should be consider while you are going to design your user interface. So students, this is all about user interface design principle. So student, till here our lecture number 40 is ended.